This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. We're thrilled to be with you today. The podcast just passed, I think, 7 million downloads, was ranked last month number one in the Apple Business News podcast rankings, and thrilled to be growing the related newsletter as well. Today, we'll be joined by two business experts who work in the CFO and outsourced CFO area with two leaders from the firm SUTKER Moran, Howard SUTKER and Scott Moran. Scott, maybe you could take the lead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about SUTKER Moran. And then I'll ask Howard SUTKER to also join in, give us a bit of his background, and also talk about his initial founding of the business and how that came about. Scott, can you take a moment and kick us off?
Yes, fantastic. Scott, thanks for having us and congrats on all the growth that you just mentioned there on the podcast. But excited to join you, tell you a little bit about SUTKER Moran today. So we're a business consulting and CFO services firm. And at the end of the day, what that means is we're going to try to provide high-level financial acumen at less cost. And the way we do that with companies is through three different types of roles. The permanent financial management, where we take over and run that financial department. We also do it on an interim basis where we step in. There's an immediate need, whether somebody's been terminated or they quit, or that company is growing and looking to add that layer. And the third is the project-based consulting. And that can be a variety of things. It could be M&A support. It could be a company going through some restructuring or turnaround services. But at the end of the day, the commonality is they lack the internal resources or financial acumen for the situation that they're in. And so what we do is we provide highly skilled financial professionals. We leverage a team-based approach. What's going on in the marketplace, a lot of talk about fractional resources, but we utilize a team approach. So our engagements always have a managing director, and staff support, so we can flex to the needs of that company and provide what they need at a cost that makes sense to the business. And ultimately, that allows them to save on fees. So coming back, Scott, to where I started, higher level financial acumen, at less cost, and we're serving the middle market. More than half our clients sit somewhere between 20 and 100 million in revenue. A lot of privately held, but also we also see we see that change in the middle market space. A little more investor dollars coming in, and a little more private equity in the middle market space, more and more as that continues to shift. So primarily Chicago-based firm. Our team is primarily here. We do have individuals on the West and East Coast, but a majority of our clients are in the greater Chicago area.
It's a talk for a moment, Scott. Typical revenues, 20 to 100 million, traditionally founder owned, but increasingly also private equity sponsored companies and so forth. I know you've got a really bright team of professionals. I know you became a named partner in the last several years. Congratulations to you. Talk for a second about verticals or industries that you work most closely in. Are there specific industries or areas that you do more work in than others?
You know, it's pretty even. When we look at the client base, we break it down into four main buckets. So we end up with manufacturing, service, construction, and then our fourth bucket there is distribution. Now, the service bucket tends to carry a handful of industries that overlap. So that includes our law firms, our consulting firm, a lot of professional services firms, marketing firms. It also includes our logistics and healthcare. So healthcare for us could be doctor practice groups. It could be senior care, it could be elder care, it could be mental health related. It could also kind of be somewhere over that line of not-for-profit healthcare type services as well. So pretty even, Scott, amongst those four buckets in that lower middle market space.
Thank you very much. And Howard, take a second. Howard SUTKER, you founded this business 10, 15 years ago. Tell us about the founding of the business and talk about sort of where it was then, where it's at today, and areas that you see with yourself and Scott Moran and the team focusing.
Sure, absolutely. So, the company was really founded because it just saw a need out there. It started, Scott joined just a few years later, and the need was that these lower or middle market companies just did not have the financial acumen that was required for their business. They were still complex, but they just did not have the wherewithal, the resources to hire a high level CFO. And just as I I was working for a turnaround firm, so dealing with financially distressed situations, and most of the situations that I got involved in, there was that lack of financial acumen. So I started talking to lenders who were my main referral source there, and I said, instead of the commonality being a level of financial distress, what about the commonality being a lack of financial acumen, whether they were in a distressed situation or growing and profitable? And the lender's eyes just got big and wide open, because there's so many companies out like that. And that's really how we started. So, I asked to be introduced to those companies, started working with them, and then Scott joined and worked on a way that we could provide that high level financial acumen at less cost than a W-2, less cost than a consultant. And that's what we do today. We focus really on those things. For years, we went ahead and just started, working through our model. And now when we onboard a client, whether it's for an interim basis or for outsourced permanent, we do the blocking and tackling, which is okay. We're taking over for somebody else. Where's the files? What's the passwords and all that. But we quickly get into, how do we add value? How do we make it more efficient? How do we make it less costly to our client? And what kind of acumen can we provide, whether it's financial analysis or looking at the commonality amongst the vendor network, and ways in which you can improve who their strategic vendors are, and whatnot.
Thank you. Take a moment in terms of there's shortages of accountants in the world today, things that we didn't expect years ago. There's a movement towards artificial intelligence and helping in so many things. What are some of the core trends, Howard, that you're watching in the business and in how companies handle their CFO and their controller staffing? So it seems like an incredibly challenging time to find the right talent at the right place. What are some of the trends you're watching?
Right. Well, it's right really from both sides of it. In sense that there's the supply of accounts is diminishing. Not when back in the day, people would go to big eight firms and get their accounting degrees. Now, even those who have accounting degrees, they're going into various different things like private equity or valuations or this and that. So the pool of true accounts is smaller. And on the other end of it, you're seeing the more experienced people, they're going off and retiring. So it's a problem right now that there really is not that high. There's not that many people out there who are out there to provide the CFO work. So that's really kind of how we kind of come into play. In sense of trends, in sense of automation, we're seeing that all the time, in sense of becoming more efficient with AI, even in the sense of we are the financial managers of these departments, and we're seeing it and getting involved in sense of just the clerical things of accounts payable or accounts receivable and things of that nature. It's now becoming much more automated. So what do you need to be doing? You got to be focusing on the higher level stuff, the more value added aspects of that job.
Thank you. And Scott, let me tee you back up on this similar question. Some of the trends you're watching currently, to add on and add some color to what Howard was saying about trends that you're watching.
Yeah. Well, I'll repeat a few that Howard mentioned and just kind of layer in a little bit. The third, fourth quarter last year, so much talk about AI, and it continued to ramp up. And how is that going to be utilized in business, and all these large firms and large companies investing in it? And when will that trickle down, and the affordability and the implementation costs, and where will we see it across the middle market? You've got that. The tariff discussion has obviously been a hot discussion that we've had here the last few months, and will continue to have as we see different sort of costs pull through inventory in the next couple of months. But if you take it even more narrow to what we're doing, the fractional leadership space continues to be in demand because of the points that you both just mentioned. The shortage of CPAs, less people sitting for the CPA exam over the last 5 to 7 years than ever before. And those are people that even prior to that would be ascending to the role of CFO or being in a leadership position. And so COVID has really changed the way a lot of companies think about sourcing that talent. If you got less people coming into it for a variety of reasons and more people going out, the idea that how do I get that in my business at a cost that makes sense? So it's not just to our space in the CFO seat, you see it in IT, you see it in HR, you see it in marketing. How do I get the expert, or how do I get that expensive individual with all the experience to help my business, but I'm not ready to either spend the dollars, nor do I see it as a 40, 50-hour a week commitment. So the trend moving into this fractional leadership space. So we love it from the standpoint of it's creating a ton of conversation in the marketplace, but it also allows us to differentiate ourselves and talk about full coverage and our ability to provide, what's a little bit different than what fractional gets interpreted, which is part-time, half in, half out, temporary. But a lot of our fractional or full coverage solutions that we're offering and working with companies last 3 to 4 years. Our average client length is that time. So the trend in the space and seeing all this change in professional services, you're seeing consolidation amongst CPA firms, private money coming in there. Those are all areas that are impacting the fractional or outsourced CFO space. So you talk about AI and the tariffs and technology. It's the role of the CFO continues to evolve, and it's really in all industries. How are we going to implement the right technology to make ourselves more efficient? What's going to be cost effective? So it's more than just running the accounting or the books and records. It's more than the FP&A forward-looking function. Now it's also technology and the implementation of that technology. So having the right person in that seat is pretty critical. But the trends in the market shifting to this fractional leadership model, or it being a solution for whether it's a point in time or several years, is something that we're really paying close attention to.
Thank you very much. And Scott, take a moment on sort of maybe an example of a client engagement. Don't have to name the name of the client, of course, to where you folks can have good impact, can have big impact, and really help them either solve things, clean things up, or add value. Give us an example of a client engagement, and obviously, ideally, thinking of one that you actually worked on versus hypothetically, without mentioning names and so forth, but where you could have the impact you'd like to have.
Yeah, so I think, Scott, we can come in right away and have a big impact as I think about really 2 recent clients that were very similar. What often happens in the middle market is that financial position, the key leadership financial position, the CFO and controller, they get blended into one. And so the company that we've seen often is hire that one position and ask them at times to be the CFO, and then other times to be the controller. Now, those are 2 different price points and they're 2 different skill sets. So most of the time we're coming in because we're replacing that position. So the recent example I think about is that CFO/controller being terminated and us getting the call to step in. So one, we had an incredible amount of value because of what we've built since 2013, how we step in, how we onboard the position. We've got a checklist, we've got a process and protocol to step in. So taking over that financial department really from day one. We like to say, get in the chair, get in the seat, take control. There's an association with consulting firms that they tell you what to do. They don't actually get in and implement and do the work. So we step in, we take over the seat. And then we're taking that position and we're breaking it into the CFO role and the controller role. And what should the CFO be doing? What should the controller be doing? And so during our onboarding process is really implementing that change. And what it ultimately leads to for that company and the value that's added is the costs that are associated with the controller and the CFO are different. We can get those tasks and things done, and then we can spend time on thinking about where that business is going. So in both of these cases, they're growing businesses that aren't trying to stay the same from either a revenue or profitability standpoint. They're trying to get to that next level. Well, the next level means, in some of these cases, expanding footprint, changing capital structure, so the right capital structure to grow, but also evaluating opportunities to make, whether it be acquisitions or look at some of the competitive landscape and bring that and vertically integrate under the umbrella. Those are all CFO level discussions. So we went through the onboard, we broke that CFO role apart and put the individuals on our team that can service that. And now we're focused on bigger picture, marrying the financial strategy to the business strategy. A lot of the owners we work with, they have this great business strategy. Sometimes it's documented, sometimes it's in their head. And it's really marrying that to a financial strategy to help you execute that goal, help you be accountable, and to understand, are we inside or outside the guardrails in order to meet whatever that ultimate goal is. But a lot of value gets added in the quick cleanup and professionalize the financial department. And then it continues on from there as that company evolves and grows. And so we've seen that. We see that all the time, but two very recent examples of it going on right now.
No, thank you very, very much. And Howard, you've been at this for some time now. You've built a tremendous business with a great team of colleagues and a great partner in Scott. Talk for a moment about what you're most focused on and excited about this year and as you continue to grow. Where are you most focused and excited?
I'm excited about our people. We've got to a point where now at 25 people. So when we go ahead and add somebody right now, it's a smaller percentage. So when they come in, we just added somebody 2 weeks ago, and it's kind of like there's a process in place, and the people who are already here already know that process. So the ability to integrate people that way just really excites us because of the scalability of our business. We've always seen the demand. It's the supply and finding the right people and then training them. We've now kind of got a process in place there to allow us to service our clients at the level we want. So I would say that is really, really exciting. And just in sense of being out there and having more clients and more clients talk about and seeing the value that we provide. Scott and I are incredibly looking forward to the rest of 25 and beyond.
Fantastic. And Scott, let me ask you the same question. Where are you most focused and excited currently? I mean, you've got great people, great team, and that's everything. And Howard mentioned really well, the man might be there, but if you don't got the right supply and the right talent, you can't handle it well. Give us a follow-up to any additional color to where you're most focused and excited.
Yeah, and I'll play off of what we just talked about, the trend in the fractional leadership space and the CFO space in particular. Everything Howard just mentioned, having the right people has been key. And it's key to our continued growth and success. But we feel very well positioned in the marketplace for this trend of companies looking to outsource their financial management. We're not in a position right now where we're trying to build a process or figure out how we're going to take over a financial or figure out how we're taking those steps to jump in. We feel very confident in our team and very confident in the things that we built. So now it's tweaking, it's making little enhancements to be more efficient. But we feel well positioned for the demand of the marketplace in order to step in quickly. So fantastic group of people. We talk about all the time, our core and the quality of our execution is so important, but the positioning in the marketplace and the changes that continue to happen, we feel very well positioned to service the needs.
Thank you very, very much. And Howard, let me flip back to you. Any advice that you would give to either founders or emerging leaders in the bailiwick of leadership or business acumen? What puffs out at you as sort of like core advice that you would give to people either building businesses, running businesses, or leading businesses?
Yeah, I would say, do what you say. The people they're relying on you. Your teams are relying on you. They're relying for you for their career, their growth. What they're doing, what their job satisfaction, obviously their livelihood. So they're relying on you. So do what you say. Be consistent. Whatever that is. Sometimes it's things that they may not exactly want to hear, but make sure that they feel that they can rely on you. And I think Scott and I do that. I think our team knows of what we expect of them, and we go ahead and what they expect of us, and we go ahead and make sure we hit those points. I think being consistent with what you say and how you run your company and doing what you say is very important.
Thank you very, very much. And Scott, let me ask you the same question. Ask you to add some color there and follow up and help us round that out.
I think, Scott, it's important to listen. So we listen to our team, we listen to feedback and input and gather the facts. But at the end of the day, we need to be decisive leaders and we need to be confident in those decisions. Howard and I tell our team, we're not perfect. We make mistakes every day too. But being confident in the decisions that you're making, once gathering the facts, I think that's what they look for in a leader, is that what we're putting forth, the decisions that we're making, we feel confident and we believe in. And, it's funny, just last week, we had somebody on the team say, man, you guys are really enthusiastic about what you're saying and what we're talking about here. And I think that's just passion, showcasing your passion. You can be really successful when you're passionate about the work that you're doing. And I think when that comes through from the leader and it comes through the decisions that are being made, it motivates the team, it gets the team excited. And you quickly figure out, who wants to be on and who wants to keep pushing the rock the same direction as the leader. So we like to listen, we like to hear, get the facts first, but then be decisive and move. And that's just a part of our DNA and who we are.
Again, Howard SUTKER, Scott Moran of SUTKER Moran, you guys have done an incredible job building SUTKER Moran, and more importantly, helping clients out with their CFO needs, their financial needs, their consulting needs, and a lot more. Thank you for joining us today on the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.